Hey everybody, what the flick? Alonso, Bibbs, Francis's car died because it wasn't well dressed enough. So it's just us this week talking about The Flash, episode 2, The Fastest Man Alive. Take a look.
Something out there is saving people.
Everybody's out. What else you got for me?
You already have a job in law enforcement, Barry.
You can't be running around like some supersonic fireman.
No more heroics.
Know your limits. I'm in way over my head. Meet Captain Clone. Don't worry, I'll come up with something cooler.
The Flash.
I like this episode, but it feels kind of repetitious to me. It feels like, they're reintroducing a lot of concepts. In case in this last episode, I'm going to, with as little dialogue as possible, explain everything that's going on already.
And, it's like, oh, wow, reluctant hero already.
I guess you want to get it out of the way.
Yeah, that's true. If not now, when?
In order to get the big action climax of the first episode, he had to kind of get over himself very, very quickly. And now you kind of want to throw a couple of curveballs his way and just show the audience that this guy isn't some cocky, I'm going to put on costume and do everything guy. Like, there will be things that stand in his way, make him doubt himself. And I liked the subplot with him and Detective West in this, where the guy who essentially raised him is being protective, and he's right in a lot of ways, and so is Barry, and it ended on a nice, sweet little moment, and there are two sweet moments that end this. One is between Barry and his dad, and that was really nice. And the other one was, we were all hit by that lightning. Oh, that was terrible! That was terrible. That was really cheesy.
That was the second worst line of dialogue.
No.
The first was when Barry has his little conniption and talks about, you're not my real father, and if I want to drag people out of a burning building, I will. It's like, oh man.
He's young.
I know, that's the problem with this show. They keep, like Detective West keeps referring to him as a kid.
Well, it's his father figure.
I know that,
my
but
dad
still,
referred to me as a
this
kid.
guy's supposed to be at least a college graduate by now because he is the entire forensics department for the Central City Police
And
Department.
I guess they had no one in the 9 months when he was in a coma.
Clearly no. Yeah, his desk was cobwebs. And and he is this tween. I can't take this guy seriously. If they were doing like the Wally West Teen Titans Flash, great, fine, cast this guy. But man Barry Allen, even young man Barry Allen, do not buy this kid.
I understand that, and I see that as something, I feel like we're starting somewhere, so he's going to get to that point, as opposed to just him being that hero, him being that stalwart figure and having nowhere to grow. So I'm willing to cut it some slack, and hopefully he'll grow out of this before too long.
But the thing is, I think it's a bigger issue than that, because I don't see this actor metamorphosing into the kind of sort of like, grown-ass man action hero that this demands. I think we're going to be looking at the show at the end of the run, and he's still going to look like a freshman.
Well, one of my favorite interpretations of The Flash was actually the version on Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. Did you ever watch that show?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was Wally West.
That was Wally West, but they were incorporating a lot of other elements. But like the simple thing, because like he was also a CSI investigator on that show as well. They dovetailed the characters.
And the calorie stuff is very much out of the original, like the post-crisis Wally West comic. That was where they introduced the idea that he has to eat all the time.
Yeah, that's when they were like, oh right, that would actually require him to eat calories because he's working out so much. That was cute. But like what I mean by the Justice League thing is that was a version of the Flash that his optimism was an important part of his character. The idea that he was a little wide-eyed, that he was a little silly, but when the chips fell down, he was the hero he needed to be. And there were a couple episodes about that, about how he was an unconventional hero because he didn't have that enormous maturity, that enormous overpowering strength of character, that darkness that comes from Batman's trauma, etc. He's a different hero, and I like seeing that.
I'm okay. Again, all that stuff is fine, but then make this guy a college student. Make him an intern in the forensics department who hangs out all the time because his foster father is the detective. Make Iris also a college student because it seems like she's one anyway.
I think she is a college student. Yeah. No, I'll say this: when they introduced the character on Arrow, there was no indication that he was this important to the Central City Police Department. The implication was he was like young or just getting started or new to the department or something. And I guess for simplicity's sake, now that he's got his own show, they're just not even going to put anyone else in because there's enough cast members already. You know, like
Yeah.
there are certain sacrifices you make when you do something as arch as a superhero series. Some of them are really distracting and annoying, and I'm not going to say you shouldn't notice them, but some of them I'm willing to go, in a superhero series, as long as the emotional crux of the character works for me, as long as the action is good, and as long as the stories aren't stupid. I'm happy.
To its credit, I will say that there are some cool ideas that are being laid out. I do hope every episode doesn't end with the Star Labs guy doing some reveal, you know.
Apparently he's not Rip Hunter though, so there goes my theory.
Well, there you go. Okay, fine.
Fair enough.
But I liked the multiplex. That was kind of a cool.
Multiplex is a fun villain
thing, and he's
from the comics.
From the comics,
He's not an important villain in the comics, but he's from there, and he's a good kind of villain to put in a TV show because it doesn't require too much visual effects. You just need a whole bunch of guys in masks.
Sure.
You know, and so like you get the effect of a bigger fight, even though
and with visual effects, you know, it's a piece of cake. And then I really hope they wrap up this like the lovelorn Iris thing.
Oh no, we're there for a while. No. We're stuck with that. No, Arrow has been stretching that out. Like their first love triangle, for example, Arrow had been stretching that out for like 3 years. You're just gonna have to get used to that. I liked that bit though, where I mean, again, I find the whole "Don't Tell Iris" subplot really false and forced. But I liked the bit where he found a way to tell her without actually telling her. I thought that was a nice little way to that was a clever use of his abilities. That was a nice little emotional moment for him. And then you kind of have to feel for the guy for he gets to say all that and then he has to go back to pretending it never happened.
No, that moment was nice. But overall, I just feel like, oh boy, this is going to be the thing they don't say in the 5-minute conversation that no one's having that makes the plot go for years. I'm warming to widowed female Star Labs sidekick. She's, I think, kind of growing into somebody I'm buying as a character.
Yeah, you got to give them a little bit of time. They are the sidekick characters. There's, the Xander of the group is useful. Like he still like invents stuff. He makes the gadgets. So it's not just like, why does he act like he's in junior high? And it's like because he's really smart, and we just sort of let it go. You know, like I get it. That's cool. Everyone's serving a function.
He's emotionally stunted, but brilliant, right?
Yeah, exactly. Everything's serving a function. I like it. And the soap opera aspect is, I think that's always been inherent to comics, though. Most comics like would stretch out, like, will he or won't he end up with Gwen Stacy for a really long time.
That's true.
And so I try to have some fun with that. There's just sort of like, oh, this again. The Flash.
I hope they give this Iris a little more backbone because the Iris of the comics sort of merited, I think his affection. She kind of comes off as sort of like generically spunky, and she's dating this other douchey guy, and it's sort of like, I need her to step up as a character so that it matters whether or not they get together. I guess.
I agree, and this happened with Laurel Lance as well. But they are starting to give her direction. Two episodes in, she's already on her way to becoming, a journalist, and already like
she's flaming a little here.
Well, she even had a line of dialogue in the first episode. His dad said, "You're not a cop," and she's like, "Because you wouldn't let me."
Right.
Like she wants to do more. She wants to have more agency, and so I see a lot of potential in that character. But right now, she is the girl the hero lusts after and who is currently dating a nice enough guy for now.
Yeah, and daddy's partner, that's always a little iffy.
Well, and also, like, the guy who has a crush on her is essentially her brother. So,
I know. That's the Marsha Greg Brady thing. So now then, meanwhile, we've got William Sadler, who's great.
Always great in
one of the great
everything.
character actors, as Simon Stagg. And now I'm like to guess from the hints we've gotten of next week's episode that we're getting Metamorpho.
Metamorpho's not a villain, though.
No, I know, but they could introduce him
as...
as...
started off as a villain, though, maybe. Didn't he, like, initially?
No, I don't think he was ever a villain, but I think they could do that introduction of, like, where he's just figuring out his powers or something, and, they meet and they fight, and then they realize they're on the same side, blah, blah, blah. Now, although Simon Stagg's now apparently dead, so,
Well, I'm curious, like, I know you're a comic book fan, but were you a Flash fan? We didn't really get a chance to talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, I read, like, Silver Age, Flash, and then a lot of the sort of, like, I loved all the kind of the Flash of Two Worlds sort of crossover stuff. And then I wasn't a big Impulse reader, but I did read Young Justice.
Okay.
So I kind of I know that character a little bit.
Yeah.
And, in the Wally West version from the sort of post-crisis continuity and then various Titans incarnations.
Right. So you got your chops.
Yeah,
I was a Marvel zombie growing up, but then as an adult, I became a DC werewolf. And Identity Crisis introduced me to a lot of things, and I just totally fell in love with Jeff Johns' run. And then I did some research. But what I'm curious is that, you seem like yourself, what do you want on this series?
Well, I mean, I think obviously, you have a character whose secret identity is somebody who's on a police force. So for TV, that kind of loans itself to Case of the Week. And if they want to go that way, fine. And in the pilot, they've established this whole thing of like scattered metahumans, thanks to the thing, who will all manifest one at a time, which is okay, structurally speaking, that you can do something with that, I just hope that the personal stories get more interesting than the Iris, but I can't tell her, stuff. And then obviously you've got the ongoing thing of clearing the dad's name, which now obviously Officer Rent is on board with. So so that's that could go somewhere interesting, and obviously that means we're gonna have to get the Professor Zoom stuff. So yeah, I mean, I like the groundwork that's being laid here. I really feel like you have miscast the lead character here for the character that has been written. If they wanted to do College Flash, great. This guy would be fine for that. But for like Man Flash, not my thing.
Man Flash, the spin-off. Well, I'm with you on that. I guess I'll be happy as long as we have enough rogues vent by the end of season 1 that we get to see him hang out at like the bar with no name.
There you go.
That's all I want. I want that community. That's what I like about the Flash in the comics, is that his villains have a sense of community. They don't exist in a vacuum.
And don't they all have the same tailor? Like, isn't there one guy who makes all the costumes?
That's a gag in I think both the DC and Marvel universes, that there's always one guy who does all the costumes for everybody.
But obviously no one's going to show up on this show with like a coat with boomerangs all over it. Like
probably
not what they're going
Maybe
for
a
here.
coat with boomerangs in it.
Well, sure, yes, just not.
No, I don't think they're going to go too literal. Like even when they did Deathstroke the Terminator, he was just in like mercenary garb and a mask, and that was it.
Gotcha.
So, anyway.
All right, so we'll see where this goes. Join us next time.